since I just don't want odds and ends, because some of the things that we're gonna, we already worked on ignition, but I want to do a recap on that. But we're also going to work on the cooling system, and we're going to change some valve guide seals. So that's going to be fun. It will be. It really will be. So the thing that I'm holding in my hand, I'm holding two of these in my hand. These are lifters. These ride on the camshaft and actuate the valves through a rocker that goes like this and opens and closes the valves. These are hydraulic lifters. Now the way you can tell, I'll pass one around. Or actually, I can pass a bunch of them around.
Lifters for everyone.
They're just dirty little shitty lifters.
Souvenirs!
There you go. So this is a lifter. Now this is a hydraulic lifter, and the reason you can tell it's a hydraulic lifter is that you'll see it's got a couple of little retaining springs in here, and when you press it with a screwdriver, it moves.
Yeah.
There's a little hole in the side here which goes to the oil galley. Pressurized oil finds its way in here and pumps up the lifter to take the lash out while the lobe is down, or the lifter is down on the cam. And then when it comes back up, this actually squishes a little bit, but not much, and that gives you a very quiet valve train. This car has solid lifters, so these aren't for this car. Now, what I wanted to show you also is that this type of lifter, actually all lifters, have a convex surface here. So and they don't sit square on the cam, they sit on the edge of the lobe, and that actually causes the lifter to rotate. And it rotates so that it has even wear. Now if you look at this one, when you hold it up to the light, you can actually see it is concave. I'll let you do that. That's a worn out lifter. That's a bad thing. That's not going to do anything for you except eat up your cam. When you're working on an engine,
No bueno.
when you're working on an engine, probably the worst thing you can do is put old lifters on a new cam. It's a bad thing. It really is. So normally when you see camshafts, you'll see a camshaft kit, which consists of lifters and a camshaft. That's normally how you replace them. Because as the cam, we actually have to bed the lifters in when we rebuild an engine, and we run it at a high rate of speed, fairly high, 2,500 RPM plus, for about a half an hour, to make sure that everything works right. If the engine doesn't wipe the cam out in that first half hour, it probably won't. But if you don't assemble it right, the cam's dry and you run it too low, it can't eat the cam. So it's just one of those things that you have to be aware of. Now the other thing that I wanted to show you, we did not replace the distributor cap on this car because all the caps that were available were crappy ass caps. When I say crappy ass caps, they have aluminum electrodes.
Yuck.
This is a distributor. This takes the power from the coil, the high tension side, high voltage side, and it distributes it to each plug in the correct firing order, which is actually on this. There's numbers here. It says, I gotta stop and think about this.
So that's a small block Chevy. It's 18436572.
Yeah, but on this side it's 8. This is 8,
That would probably have
6, 4, and then 2.
Yeah, because that's a spider
Right,
style.
it's one of those funky caps. This is like the last generation distributor cap made, because by this point, around 2000, we started to, this is a 1998 car and cap, which I think may be original. Hard to tell. Yeah, it looks like it might be. So this cap probably has about 170,000 miles on it. And if you look inside, I'll pass this around too, you can see that the aluminum electrodes are all white. That white is aluminum oxide. What aluminum oxide does is it acts as an insulator and it reduces the intensity of your spark. So when I put caps in, I really try to look for brass contacts. So when you're searching on Rock Auto or Riley's, AutoZone, Advance Auto, whichever auto parts company you use, look for brass contacts. Typically, standard automotive industry products will use brass contacts, but not always. This is...
So they use aluminum because it's cheaper.
Yes, it's definitely quite a bit cheaper. And there's hardly any aluminum in the cap. But your inexpensive caps will be all aluminum. Your better caps will have brass contacts. Back in the day, they all had brass. And then we started migrating to inexpensive caps later on, which had aluminum contacts, and they corrode. And the truck, this is out of the Lobach truck, the infamous Lobach truck.
Infamous.
This thing, it really is. So it was running really crappy. So I replaced the wire spark plugs, and this is the rotor. Now on the rotor, what happens? They still use brass for this piece because it gets a lot more sparkage than anything else. And that should tell you something that they're still using brass here because it's a better material for conducting electricity, reduction of corrosion, etc., etc. But you can see how this one this should be nice and clean and shiny, and it's not. So this is the reason when you hear somebody say, I replaced the cap and rotor, I didn't replace the spark plugs, all of those things age, and they do have an impact on the quality of the engine's operation. So an older engine that has worn components like this or corroded components isn't going to run as well. You can have all the gas in the world, you can have headers, you can do all these things, but if you don't have a good spark, you're not going to make good power. And you're also not going to have good fuel economy. Oh, he is here. Oh, son of a gun.
And Greg snuck in too.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to work on the cooling system, and we're going to work on replacing valve guide seals, which I'm telling you, huge amount of fun.
Oh yeah.
It's really crazy. Not that many people like to do it, but we're going to do it because we can.
And we're crazy.
So the first thing we need to do, gentlemen, because lady is not here yet, the first thing we're going to do is take the hood off.
Woohoo!
So I need a team to, and take a couple people. There's only 4 bolts holding that hood on, and take the hood off, and then we'll start working on other things.
Shall we mark it so it goes back correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna do it hack style. Let's go.
Yep.